Bueno, buenos días a todos y todas. Les pedimos que por favor a los panelistas pongan sus cámaras. Vamos a dar inicio a esta conferencia de prensa en el marco de la jornada Anti-Chevron. Y para empezar queremos darles unas pequeñas explicaciones sobre el sistema.
We're going to start our meeting, so we are going to make some explanations about the process. We'll have an interpretation in English and Spanish and English. If you can direct your mouse to your microphone and video, you will find a symbol of the planet. And there you can click if you need the interpretation in English or Spanish. You can click there and you will hear the audio in those languages. Also, I want to remind our panelists, there will be 3 minutes to speak each, and afterwards we will have a Q&A from the media. Also, to the media, you can make your questions by raising your hand or also by the chat. Also, I want to ask the panelists to turn on your cameras. I am inviting Justino. He's also in the camera now. I will be inviting Emem, Bielaye, and Lydia. Also Martin. So you can turn on your camera. We're going to give us a minute to welcome more people and so that our panelists can make sure that their audio and video is working.
Bueno, vamos a empezar. Muchas gracias a todos y todas. De nuevo recordarles que tenemos servicio de interpretación español-inglés, español. Y vamos a recibir, y pueden darle en ese icono en la parte de abajo del sistema para recibir la interpretación en el idioma que lo necesiten. También vamos a estar recibiendo preguntas a través del chat o para recibir o a través de
Also, we will have the Q&A through by raising your hands. We are going to start with the panelists with 3 minutes each speaking, and afterwards we will have a Q&A from the media. Once again, welcome. We are within our press. We will have a press conference with the communities affected by the doings or Chevron. This initiative that has been going on for the last 7 years looks to listen to the communities affected by the violations and the impunity of Chevron. Today, we will have people representing several communities Amazon communities from Ecuador, people from Nigeria, and from Argentina, from the region of Vaca Muerta. In this regard, we will start with the panelists. Once again, my name is Natalie Rengifo. We are part of a coalition supporting the different communities against Chevron, so their voices are heard. During this whole week, up to the general meeting from shareholders of Chevron. Now we will start with the president of the Siekopai National and Ecuador plaintiff against Chevron and representative of the people of the Union of the People affected by Texaco, and we will welcome Justino Piaguage. Please, Justino, you're welcome, and I want to remind you that you will have 3 minutes.
Bueno, buenos días a todos.
Good morning,
estimados medios de
dear
comunicación,
media,
compañeros de lucha
partners
de
of this
distintos
struggle from the
países y
different
de
countries
continentes del mundo.
and
Saludos
different
cordiales
continents of
desde
the
la
world.
Amazonía ecuatoriana.
I want to greet you from the
Soy
Ecuadorian
Justino
Amazon.
Piaguage,
My
presidente
name
de
is
la
Justino
nación
Piaguage,
Siekopai, nación
president
originaria
of the
de acá de la
Siekopai
Amazonía.
Nation.
Soy uno de los firmantes,
I'm one of the
en contra
plaintiffs
de Chevron
the
Texaco.
complaint against
Junto a
Chevron,
mis
against
compañeros,
Chevron
16
Texaco,
compañeros de la nación Siekopai.
also with
Represento a
16 other
miles de
partners
afectados
of
por
my
casos por
nation. I
derrames
represent
petroleros
thousands
ocasionados
of
por
other
Para
people that's
nosotros,
been
la
violated by
pérdida
Chevron. For us,
de la naturaleza,
the
la
loss
pérdida
of
del
the
territorio,
nature, the loss of
significa
our
muchísimo.
territory
A
means a
raíz de la
lot.
explotación petrolera inició toda esta pérdida.
From the oil
Hemos
extraction
perdido
process,
los
we have
principales
lost
medios de
our
subsistencia de
main
nuestro
ways
pueblo,
of life
como es el caso de
for
la
our nation,
caza,
such as
pesca,
the
la
hunting
recolección,
and the
la
fishing
vida armónica, el
and the
desarrollo
gathering
espiritual
and
como
our
tal.
spiritual
Todo ha
development
sido
as such.
perturbado, ha
All
sido
of this has been
interrumpido por las acciones de Chevron.
interrupted by the actions
Por
of Chevron.
eso quisiera decirles también que estamos
For this, I
en
want to tell
peores
you
condiciones
that we are in
enfrentando
worse
esta
conditions,
crisis, esta
facing this
pandemia,
crisis, this pandemic,
esta crisis humanitaria que vivimos
this
en el mundo.
humanitarian crisis that's
Nosotros
going on
pensaríamos que
worldwide.
es una
We
exhortación
believe
de la
this is an
naturaleza
exhortation of
hacia
nature
los cambios, hacia las
towards the
formas de vida,
changes
hacia
of the
los
ways of
atropellos
lives
contra
and the
el medio
violations
ambiente quizás
against
también.
the nature.
Nosotros hubiéramos estado en mejores condiciones,
We would have been in better
quizás si no
situation to
hubiéramos
face this
tenido esa
if we wouldn't have
agresión
to
petrolera que estamos
face the
enfrentando hoy
violations
por
of
hoy.
the oil extraction that we face
Hubiéramos
today.
estado en nuestro
We would
territorio,
have been on a better
quizás
position
mucho más
within our
amplio,
territory, with a
tratando de
broader
defender y
territory,
vivir como vivieron
looking
nuestros
to
abuelos en
defend
su
it and
pasado.
trying to live the
Hoy
way
las
our
condiciones de
ancestors did.
rodeados
Today,
de
that
fuentes
we
de
are surrounded
petrolera,
by
fuentes
oil
de
wells
contaminación que no
and
abastecen nuestra propia forma de
places with
subsistencia,
contamination
estamos
that
totalmente
attacked our way of
en
life.
peores condiciones.
We are in a
Yo
worse
quisiera
situation than
decirle
before. I want to let
también
you
al
know,
mundo y a todos
let the
los
world
medios
know,
de comunicación,
let all the
a
media know,
los accionistas de Chevron, que
Chevron's
nosotros hemos
shareholders,
ganado
we want to let
la
you know that we have
sentencia
won
del
the
caso
trial
Chevron.
against
Pero no puede
Chevron,
ser posible
but
que
it
esperemos
is
justicia y
impossible
tengan que
that we
morir
have to
nuestros
wait for
compañeros de
justice and
lucha.
we have to
Hace tiempo, hace
see
3
our
días apenas,
partners die.
un compañero ya falleció,
Just 3
sin
days
ver
ago,
justicia,
one of
sin
our
haber
partners died
visto
without seeing
reparar la
justice,
naturaleza, sin haber
without
visto
seeing
la restitución del medio ambiente.
without seeing the
Queremos
redress for
exigir al Estado
pollution
ecuatoriano
of the environment. We
para
want
que
to
al menos
exhort
respete
the
nuestra
Ecuadorian
sentencia.
government
Esta
to
sentencia nada
respect
tiene
our
que ver con
ruling.
el Estado.
This ruling
Esta
has
sentencia de
nothing
los
to do with the
pueblos
Ecuadorian government.
originarios que hemos
This is a ruling in
demandado
favor of our
para
nations,
reparar
of
el
our
tema
private
ambiental y el tema
plaintiffs,
cultural.
so we can have the
Por eso
redress for pollutions in the
también
Amazon.
pedimos
That's
la
why
no
we also
intervención a través
want
de un laudo
to ask
arbitral,
that we
que a través de ese
that
laudo
the
arbitral el
arbitral
Estado
award against
ecuatoriano
Ecuador
quiere
does
intervenir
not
y
affect or
quiere
intervene
anular nuestro caso.
our
Por eso
ruling.
queremos decirle al mundo
This is why
que
we
nos
are
apoye,
asking the
Lo
world
único que
to
queremos
help us
mirar
and support
es
us. The
nuestra
only thing that
Amazonía
we want is to
libre de
have our Amazon
contaminación,
free from
nuestros pueblos,
contamination.
que apenas
Our
somos 700
nationalities,
habitantes,
that it's only
en los
700
Siekopai,
people,
los
the
Sionas, la
Siekopai,
misma
the
cantidad,
Sionas,
los
the
compañeros
same amount,
cofanes, como
the
cerca de
Kofanis
1.500 habitantes.
are also
Esa gente es
1,500
lo que
people.
queremos salvar.
These
Esa
people
gente
are
es la
the
que
one
estamos
that
luchando. No es de
struggle.
ningún
They are
estado, no
struggling.
es de ningún
It's not the
gobierno.
government.
Esta
We are
lucha es
struggling.
por los
These nations are
amazónicos
struggling.
y
This is
también por los
an
pueblos
Amazonic
excluidos.
struggle.
Por eso quisiera
And
decirle
for
a
the
los
excluded people.
representantes de
This
Chevron
is, I want to
que
say to the representatives of Chevron,
en sus intervenciones, los
that in their
accionistas de Chevron
interventions, the
puedan
shareholders of
analizar
Chevron
la propuesta y
can
apoyar
analyze
para que esta
our proposal
sentencia
and help
sea
that this ruling
favorablemente acogida
can
y
be
reparada,
properly executed
aprobada para que se pueda
and
pagar
approved
lo
so
que
that it can be
nosotros
paid
por ley y estamos
what is
exigiendo y
owed
hemos
by
ganado.
us,
Muchas
to
gracias.
us by law. This is what I want to say. Thank you. Thank you very much, Justino. Thank you for your message. We are hoping that through this media that is present here, listening to your message, we can amplify this message sent from the Ecuadorian Amazon, and which is an urgent message. This is a message that needs to be heard by the world due to the vulnerability situation that Chevron has left our communities, the communities in the Amazon. And unfortunately, as these communities are dying due to the inequities, the structural inequities after the projects of Chevron took place in Ecuador. Now, I want to remind the media that if they can leave their emails, so after this presentations, we will give you a press release. Well, now I want to sweep the floor to Bielaye George. She's a member of the Kolouma community of Bayelsa state in Nigeria. This is a community affected by Chevron in Nigeria. Mrs. Bielaye, you have now the spot. Ms. Bielaye. It seems that Mrs. Bielaye is having some difficulties.
She has Bielaye, unmute yourself and speak.
Bielaye, unmute yourself.
Yeah, I think she's on now. Bielaye, go ahead. Yes, go ahead. We can hear you.
y ahora ya la gente no dura mucho tiempo más. Esto es debido a la polución que hemos recibido, debido al problema de gas que ha ocurrido los últimos 50 años. Los negocios de gas que están ocurriendo dentro de nuestro territorio. Si es que hablamos con respecto a nuestra salud, nosotros no tenemos agua.
With COVID-19 now, they said we should be washing our hands daily on continual basis, but we don't even have the water to drink, not to talk of the one to use in washing our hands, because we don't have it. We drink from the well, we fetch from the well, and if the well dried up, we'll wait for 2-3 hours before we go for the next round of water to fetch. And even that well water, you still discover oil content in it, because the whole of the land is actually polluted. So now they said those of us living in polluted environment, we are prone to COVID-19. Yes, my people are dying on daily basis. And Chevron Nigeria is responsible for it, because they don't put best practice in place. They don't give us jobs. We don't even work. For the past 50 years that they've been in operation, no single woman has ever worked in that company to say, oh, this is why we are suffering. Our mothers don't have a means of livelihood. And then when a girl gets to like 10, 15 years, she needs to leave the community because there's nothing for her to do there. And when they get to the cities, they indulge in unspoken things just to make ends meet. So Chevron is accountable for it. If they can even salvage our environment, make it conducive for us to live in, I think we'll have a means of livelihood. But it is worthy to know that even with that 48 gas, the gas explosion that was going on, for the fire was on for 48 days, with the crude oil in place, no cleanup form has been carried out by Chevron. They claim that there was no danger to, it was not dangerous, that there is no danger, and then there's no need to clean up, that it was healthy. But if you go there, you will see whales that died. Fishes were on our land, on our sea. Fishes will be flowing because the water, the whole sea is polluted. Now, the women there, they don't have facility to help because Chevron Nigeria doesn't believe in developing the place where they are residing. They believe in human development, and that one goes to the men or to the boys that can carry guns. But for the girls and the women that cannot carry guns to go and threaten them, there's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can do. So gradually, people are dying. There's no means of livelihood. COVID-19 is here. We don't have access to clean drinking water, not to talk of washing of our hands. So I think that's a lot from us here. And we are still calling on Chevron to put best practices in place and to stop the gas flare that is affecting our community on a daily basis. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much, Mrs. Bielaye. Muchísimas gracias por su mensaje. Muchísimas gracias por traernos este mensaje de las comunidades de Nigeria.
Communities of Nigeria, from the community of Kolouma. As you all can hear, there's a complex situation due to the impacts of Chevron in different communities worldwide. These impacts, I'm sorry, there seems like we are seeing a screen. Okay, thank you. There are impacts that being suffered communities, children that are having to support the projects of Chevron that have been affecting for several years, and effects that are occurring in their health. And as you can see, that there are effects in the community, and they're putting in a situation of very vulnerable situation, facing problems with their ways of lives and their health. And also in this moment that we're facing a pandemic, Chevron's making them more vulnerable to illness. And at the same time, the differentiated impact of this project, the climatic crisis, having the differentiated impact in women. Thank you very much, Mrs. Bielaye, and much solidarity with you. Now I want to sweep the floor to Letzaru Nahuel. He is from the Mapuche Confederation, from Neuquén, from the Sawonko zone. You now have the floor. Greetings for everyone. Greetings to our brother Justino from Ecuador and Nigeria. Your words sound very familiar due to the intervention of the oil companies in the Mapuche territory. I am a member of the Mapuche Confederation Neuquén, particularly from the Naunco zone, that is now affected by what is denominated vaca muerta, dead cow. Now in the pandemic, the crisis is graver than ever. But in all cases that I'm listening, what is helped the territories is not the gains or the well-being that's supposed to come from the oilers, but we are facing the destruction and the contamination of the oil and lack of water that we are feeling as well. From the 2013, after signing the pact, Chevron YPF signed on at the back of the people. After a confrontation of more than 8 hours and 20 people harmed, was signed this pact in Neuquén, where the territory were given to Chevron for over 30 years period. Sadly, from that moment to now, what we have seen is the increase of contamination and the destruction of our territories. The creation of oil trash and next to the urban sites, nothing of the well-being that was supposed to come from the oil companies here. Chevron does whatever it wants with any control of the country. The Neuquén province allows contamination. Actually, it pursues the communities from the Mapuche community that lives here, I believe, worsening the situation of contamination that already existed before. Now comes the technique of the frack technique. Now the fracking has come at hand with Chevron and the pact of Chevron and YPF that we've been shown up to today after the 7 years that is a complete failure of the politic of the extractive policy affecting our territories and energy to the Mapuche nationality or the Neuquén population have worsened their way of life, and we have no access to energy, nor health, nor housing. And same as what Justino was saying from Ecuador, much of the cases and the witnesses that have moved to trials against Chevron have been dying through the years without seeing justice, without seeing that Chevron pays. And what worries me the most is that so we can get out of the pandemic, we're being offered more fracking and more oil extraction and more Chevron without taking account the consequences that we're living right now. Now that we're living through this pandemic and what the world is being saying that we need to take care of the nature, what the oilers have been doing is just actually more contamination. So people that live in these communities know that we are not being killed at once, but we're being killed day by day. And our way of life is being affected. Our immunologic system is being affected, and it is weaker and more vulnerable to whichever disease shows up. So this is a message that I want to give you. So if we are more aware of, as a human family, that we need to take care of the water, air, and we need to stop the oilers and think about how we want to live, because all the population in the world needs to live well. And I want to send you a big hug from the Mapuche nationality to all the people that are trying to defend the world against Chevron. And I want to say that we will keep being brothers in this struggle. Thank you, Brother Emmanuel. Your message, as we've heard several times before, it's a message to change the system, as you're saying, this system that is completely destroying the environment, our body, and our way of life, and our nature, and our relationship with nature, such as Justino and Bielaye, as I was also saying, people are dying. Life is not worth what is worth to people's, to Chevron's profits, and to keep Chevron's business structure. That's what we need to change. We need to change the system. It is unfair that the communities, affected communities, are dying without seeing the day of justice. Thank you for your call and solidarity with the people from Mapuche community. I want to welcome now our friend and colleague, Martin Alvarez, member of the Observatorio Petrolero.
Muchas gracias, Natalie.
Thank you, Natalie.
Un fuerte saludo y un gran abrazo para
a big hug
todas las comunidades, tanto de
to all
Nigeria
communities
como de Ecuador.
from
Es un
Nigeria
gusto
and
estar
Ecuador.
compartiendo
It's a
acá
pleasure
con
to share
Lepsaru. Es una enorme lucha la que da el
with
pueblo
Lepsaru.
mapuche en
It's a
nuestros
big
territorios
struggle
contra las
that the Mapuche nationality
Es
is
un día
facing
especial
against
para
the
nosotros
oilers.
siempre.
It is a special day for
Cuando
us.
llega el 21 nos
When
preparamos para recordarle
21
no
May comes, we are
solo
ready
al pueblo
to
argentino,
remind
sino
not
también
only the
al mundo
Argentinian
entero
people,
de que
but
Argentina tiene
also
una
worldwide,
deuda como
that
Estado enorme
Argentina has a
por haber
debt, a huge
garantizado la
debt,
impunidad de Chevron.
for
En
guaranteeing
2012,
Chevron's
cuando
impunity in 2012,
Chevron
when Chevron
tuvo la intencionalidad de comenzar
had the
a
intention
invertir en fracking en
to
Argentina,
invest in fracking in
realizó un pacto
Argentina,
que recién lo nombró Lepsaru,
made
pero
a
ese
pact
pacto
that
vino
Lexaru
atado a un proceso de
named, but
impunidad muy
that
grande.
pact
Los afectados
came
de
attached
Ecuador
to an impunity
vinieron a
process, a
generar
big
un juicio a
impunity process.
Argentina.
People
En primera
affected in Ecuador
instancia se
brought a
logró
trial
generar un
here.
embargo
In first
de
instance,
las cuentas de
there
Chevron
was
para poder
an
garantizar el
execution
pago y la
of the
remediación
ruling in the
de
accounts of
las
Chevron,
afecciones
so
que
they could
tiene el
actually
pueblo
collect what
ecuatoriano,
was awarded by the
pero
Ecuadorian
el
courts in
gobierno de
Ecuador.
Argentina, como
But the
necesitaba
Argentinian
la
government,
inversión de
as it
Chevron,
needed
pactó un
Chevron's
cambio de la
investment,
inversión por un
they
desembargo.
pacted the
Es decir,
investment
no
with not
considerar que
enforcing
Chevron
the
Argentina
ruling,
era Chevron Corporation.
considering
Pero
that
esto,
Chevron Argentina was not part
o
of
este
Chevron Corporation.
hecho que hizo que no
This
se pueda
fact
generar ese pago
that
o ese
made
cobro,
impossible to collect
lo que
what was
terminó
awarded by the
siendo
Ecuadorian
24 horas
ruling,
más tarde fue el
turned in
cierre
24 hours
del
later,
acuerdo en el cual
people, that
Chevron
the signature
Corporation
of the
iba a invertir en
pact
Argentina
was
en
going
fracking
to Chevron
y
Corporation
Chevron
was to
Argentina
invest
iba a poder
in
mandar
fracking
divisas
in
de las
Argentina,
ganancias
and
que
so
produzcan
Argentina
de
would
la
send the
explotación en el
profits
territorio
from the
mapuche de la comunidad Campo Maripe a Chevron
oil
Corporation.
extraction in
Es
the
decir, en
Mapuche
tan solo
territory,
24 horas
profits
esas
to
situaciones
Chevron Corporation.
cambiaron.
Just
Y todo
24
eso
hours, the
fue a
situation
pedido del
changed.
gobierno,
This was because of the
del
government's
entonces
requests
gobierno de
and the
Cristina
government of
Fernández de
that
Kirchner.
time, from Cristina
La
Fernández de Kirchner.
procuradora de la Nación hizo el
The
pedido a
Attorney
la
General
Corte
of
Suprema
Argentina
de que
requested
por
the
favor
Supreme Court
bloquee
that
ese
so
cobro
they would
que el
block
pueblo
that
de la
collection
Amazonía de
from
Ecuador
Ecuador, the
necesita.
Amazon, the people
Entonces,
from Amazon of Ecuador
aprovechamos
was
esta
about to made
instancia
in
siempre
Argentina.
para recordar esa deuda
So
histórica que el
we
Estado argentino tiene con el pueblo
remind
de la
the
Amazonía
Argentine
ecuatoriana.
government
Y va
of the
nuestra
debt
solidaridad
that
y nuestro
they
gran
have
abrazo.
with the people of the Amazon in Ecuador. And also I want to say that we're favorable with them. Thank you, Martin, to remind this audience that several of the communities and nationalities in this reunion, we're trying to ask the institutions to answer to the society, to answer the necessities of the communities. That transnationals such as Chevron keep their impunity structure due to corporate harassment and the participation of elites and different governments. They can keep their structure that actually causes death. I also want to give space and welcome to Emem Okon. She's from the Kebetkache Women Development and Resource Center of Nigeria. Emem, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I want to appreciate every other person who have spoken, and also to appreciate my sister Bielaye for sharing that experience. This is just to add to what Bielaye has said, that Chevron, just like every other multinational oil and gas corporation operating in the Niger Delta, has been so insensitive to the rights of the indigenous peoples of the Niger Delta. Bielaye comes from one of the communities that hosts Chevron facilities, and she shared an experience of a gas explosion that occurred in January 2012. And Chevron, in short, the fire burned in the community for 42 days. Chevron didn't even know how the fire went off. That shows how insensitive that they were. And then they turned around to create the impression that community members did not suffer any negative impact. Community members have been drinking polluted water. As she said, there is no access to clean drinking water. But in their facilities where the company staff are working, they have access to clean drinking water. They have access to health services, whereas the communities that host the companies do not have access to health services, do not have access to clean drinking water, do not have access to power supply. And they do not also have access to food, because the pollution has affected food. The pollution has affected aquatic life. The pollution has affected the farming occupation. The pollution has destroyed livelihood of community members. And there is no alternative that has been provided. And for corporations to operate for that number of years in a community, and we don't see concrete evidence of corporate social responsibility, rather, it's a continuous despoilation of the ecosystem, continuous degradation of the environment, and the continuous negative impact on the health of community members. This is unacceptable. Right now, according to UN data, life expectancy in the Niger Delta is put at 47 years. People are dying. And meanwhile, the oil business is going on, and communities are not benefiting from the revenue. I know most times the corporations rather blame the Nigerian government for failing in their responsibilities to provide social services to communities. But then the oil and gas business in Nigeria is a joint venture. So the Nigerian government is guilty, but the corporations are more guilty, because they are the ones that are on ground and they are not respecting international best practices. What they do and get away in the Niger Delta communities, I wonder whether they can do that and get away in the developed communities. People continue to drink polluted water on a daily basis, and corporations don't see anything wrong with it. Children are suffering. Women are having reproductive health issues. Women are experiencing early menopause because every day they inhale poisonous gases and they drink polluted water. And it also adds additional burden on women because they have to manage households. And it is traumatic to feed your family and give your family polluted water and give your family polluted food that is gotten from the polluted water. The indigenous people have been engaging with the environment and with the water for many years before the oil activities began. And when the oil activity started, everything has changed. Their lives have changed. Their livelihoods have changed. They are no longer healthy. Even the plants that they will go back to use for traditional healing, they don't have it anymore because the polluted environment has affected the crops. And in the absence of health facilities, what exactly do we think is happening? It means that the corporations are killing people gradually on a daily basis, and they don't see anything wrong with it. These days, they are shifting the blame of pollution to community members who are involved in artisanal mining. But this is criminal because before community members began to engage in artisanal mining, the environment was already polluted. It is because oil used to be spilled and was not cleaned that community members began to extract the spilled oil in their communities to cook and refine for domestic use. That was how they started engaging in artisanal mining. It is because somebody had neglected their duty of cleaning up the environment when oil is spilled. That is how people begin to know that they can pick up the crude from where it is spilled and cook it and extract something like trim and use on their bodies. That is the extent to which the community members are suffering. How can people live in the midst of resources that are generating wealth, but then these people live in the midst of poverty? These communities is a sorry state. If you visit the Niger Delta communities where oil is being extracted from, you will weep because they really have no social services that make life meaningful. If you don't have money to sink borehole, you don't have access to water. Even the borehole tastes of crude. So community members have to buy sachet water before they can access clean water to drink. They have to go to private houses where the elites sink borehole to buy water before they can have clean water to cook. Government has not provided potable water. This is the challenge. And I love it when Bielaye linked it to the challenges of COVID-19. If people have to wash hands regularly with running water, and then these people don't have running water, how are they surviving? I'll give you a scenario. A community that we just visited, to be able to provide water for community members to wash hands and prevent themselves from contacting COVID-19, have to keep a basin of water and soap in the town hall. This basin of water is not running water. So every community member who goes there wash their hands in the same water, which means it is possible for community members to, while you're washing your hand to prevent yourself, you can end up infecting yourself if the water was used by somebody who was affected by the corona. So you can see how vulnerable people in Niger Delta communities are infected by COVID-19. The situation is serious. Women have been engaging with Chevron just as they engage with other corporations to hold them accountable. There was an incident in 2002 in Baramatu communities where women took over and stopped work in Chevron oil tank farm for 11 days, insisting that Chevron will have to come and discuss with the women to agree on how to engage with community members, consult community members, and also decide how their practices can be more people's oriented. Maybe many of you are familiar with that story, but I can tell you that how many decades down the line, the situation in those communities have not improved. Yes, Chevron began to open up the space to say, okay, some of those women can become food vendors in their facilities, but that does not translate to cleaning up the environment. It does not translate to changing the power relations between community members and the big corporations and the powerful corporations. It does not translate to community members having access to clean drinking water. It does not translate to the environment being cleaner than what it used to be. People still live with pollution. That is the situation where we are in the Niger Delta. I use this opportunity to thank all of you, building solidarity with other communities around the world that are experiencing the same thing, that we really need to continue to talk about this inequality and this oppression and this exploitation by the multinational oil companies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emem. It is truly a broad summary of all of the points that we've been making through this conversation, especially with the Niger Delta situation, seeing that these systems of oppressions and violence that suffer the communities, not only in Niger Delta, but also in Argentina and Ecuador, and also in communities such as Richmond, California, and other communities where Chevron, as several other multinationals, are committing violation and harassing and affecting our environment. We need to remind our audiences that Chevron is one of the corporations that has greatly compromised our environment with methane and affected our climate. This is a corporation that has affected the climate changes that affect us, that our panelists are reminding us today in the women's body and in nature, such as in the Amazon, where people are suffering cancer for cancer and several other diseases that come from pollution and from the lack of water and food, such as our panelists have been telling us about. I want to thank all our panelists and thank them for all their contribution. And I want to call for solidarity in this talk and all of the following months of the year, so we can make the corporation responsible for creating this system of injustice. Now, I want to give floor to the Q&A. We have one more panelist from the Ecuadorian Amazon. Her name is Lidia Aguinda. Her name is Lidia Aguinda, and plaintiff against Chevron, from the member of the Union of the People Affected by Texaco. Sadly, she was unable to connect with us in this call due to the connection problems, but we have a picture and a small audio from her. But as of now, we would like to go ahead with the Q&A if this is such the case. Please remember that in order to go ahead with questions, you can raise your hand with your icon, or you can also write them in the chat. Also, I want to remind you that it would be helpful if you can leave your emails so that we can send you our press release. If at the moment we don't have questions, so that the host of this call can play the audio sent by Linda Aguinda. Hello, I'm going to share Linda's audio. Thank you, Ada. This is our partner, Linda with her mother. I'm 46 years old. I live in Rumipamba community, Canton, Francisco Orellana, province of Orellana in Ecuador. I came here when I was 8 years old. Now I'm 46 years old. Who is next to me is my mother. Her name is Maria Aguinda. Is who gives the name in this trail against Chevron. We've been struggling 26 years against Chevron. Why does my mother, and other people are plaintiffs, because you can see in this picture next to us, there is a pool oil that is one of the 100 pools of oil that Chevron left in our Amazon, in our Ecuadorian Amazon. My community and my family are suffering from this crime committed by Chevron in the Amazon and in our community. There are hundreds of people that have died. There's hundreds of people sick. My mother herself is sick from a long time ago. Nonetheless, that we have a ruling against Chevron, Chevron refuses to comply with that ruling. We want to tell Chevron shareholders that our struggle will continue until they pay what is owed to us, so we can redress for pollution costs in our Amazon and in our community from the people of the Kichwa communities, Siekopai, Kofan, Siona, settlers. We live with dignity in our own land. We tell you as well today that even though the time that has gone on, there are a lot of people that have died. Even though that has happened, we will not stop in this struggle until we have full access to justice against Chevron and access to the government. Chevron has bribed judges, people, and government, but they will never be able to bribe the truth facing the facts that we can see here. We insist. We will keep our struggle until Chevron pays what it is owed to us and redress the pollution that has taken place in the Ecuadorian Amazon. Thank you for sharing the message of Lydia. As you can see, the power that the communities have will not stop, and nothing will stop it, not even the actions, the violent actions and unfair actions committed by Chevron. And as she says, we will not stop until we have full access to justice. And I believe that this is the message left by all the communities talking to us from Patagonia, the Niger Delta, and the Amazon. We have two questions. The first question goes more to Justino, or perhaps someone else, from people from UDAPT, which is the risk that if the Ecuadorian government pays attention or enforces the award given by the AYA that is favorable to Chevron, what is the risk? And the second question is that if it would be useful to have a treaty to stop the impunity of corporations such as Chevron. Perhaps Justino wants to answer. Please, Justino, go ahead. Yes, thank you for the question. Precisely. This is within our concern, at least such as plaintiffs. It's not a supposition about this. There are facts, actually. Months before, they tried to get to the communities and tell them that we want to make a new investigation, a new diggings to see where the contamination is at. We, the communities, have been clear that within the trial is already proved this. They're just trying to walk back and restart restart the process. This is something that the Attorney General's office of Ecuador tried to do this. For us, it's clear that the Ecuadorian government has a clear interest that due to the fault of them as a government, they want to spread the responsibility to us. We've been clear, and we've said that this case has nothing to do with the actions that the Ecuadorian government took. We privately started this claim against Chevron due to the contamination that we've suffered. This trial, this is looking to redress the pollution that has occurred in the Amazon and to protect the cultures that are in complete harmony and depend with the nature. We are seeing that the Ecuadorian government, through the laws, are trying to unlawfully handle, go back on the ruling that we have been awarded in Ecuadorian courts. We've gone to the last judicial instance and we've won the case over there. And they're now trying to do this, trying to stop us with this arbitral award. And through dark negotiations with Chevron, they're trying to put our case down. So we hope that the world is seeing this. This does not only affect our communities in the Amazon, but this precedent could affect in a bad way the rest of the communities in the world. This is a very important message so that we can look into the Ecuadorian ruling, so we can find precedent with this case and we can enforce this precedent in other cases and can help other communities who are in the judicial struggle against the multinationals, and to try to stop the impunity that these multinational companies have. The second question is about the treaty, and perhaps Martín is the best person to answer this.
Hola, no sé si está activado el audio. Muy bien. Bueno, sí, es importante que toda esta impunidad pueda terminar, o por lo menos que podamos tener algunos seguros y algunos resguardos desde las propias comunidades en los órganos internacionales y en los órganos internacionales. Eso es lo que hace la campaña, es tratar de que se consiga un tratado vinculante donde los estados puedan estar reglamentados, donde las voces de las comunidades puedan ser oídas. No simplemente, digamos, oídos, sino que se pueda trabajar también en generar nuevas normas, nuevas instancias en las cuales los mecanismos de impunidad no estén garantizados. Entonces, que las corporaciones tengan que pagar los crímenes que cometen, pero además de eso, los estados puedan tener los niveles de fiscalizaciones, de controles. Entonces, es importante este trabajo que lleva la campaña hace mucho tiempo en función de buscar que la impunidad de las corporaciones se termine. En esto pueden encontrar mucha información sobre
we can
todo
find a lot of information regarding this matter, different networks and different subjects that involve this campaigning. Even now, in this activity, mostly are taking part most of the communities of this campaign. I want to remind the people of this audience that the international system today to offer justice to people affected for the crimes and violations committed by the transnationals, it's an imperfect system. It's a system based on giving rights to corporations, to Chevron, through to commercial law, free trade treaties, but does not give any right to the communities or the mother nature. not even rights to the governments that try to protect and guarantee the rights of the communities that are being affected with those projects. The campaign that we're moving forward is try to get a way through international law to find a treaty or write a treaty, international treaty that will involve all parties to make responsible the transnationals for their violation against human rights. The current system makes that the transnationals use the current system that actually benefits the transnationals and keeps the status quo in favor of the transnationals through this system of inequity. I want to know if there's another question and if there's someone has his hand raised or has another question through the chat. If that's not the case, we will close this gathering, and I want to let 30 seconds to a message for all of our panel or all of our panelists with a message to all of our audience. Please, Justino will start. Yes, thank you so much. As other people have said before, the trouble that has been affect several nationalities are the same. So I think that the path that we've started is a hard one and a long one. We say this in Latin America. After 500 years, 60 years of exploitation in the Ecuadorian Amazon oil exploitation, we have not seen any benefit for our people. What we have seen is misery and contamination to our people. What can we hope for about this infrastructure and this neoliberal model that is looking to destroy everything? There is no hope. Only the communities united will defend what is ours. And I want to leave this message. We, as original people and as communities, we will not stop in our struggle. We started this 26 years ago. 2 of our partners have died during this struggle, but we will continue. If we die, our people and our future generation will see justice, and the Amazon will see a day without contamination. Thank you. Bielaye, please, if you can give us a final message. Bielaye, your microphone is on mute, so that you can know. If not, Emem can leave us with a final 30-second message to this audience.
Yes, thank you very much. I want to appreciate everyone that joined in and listened to us, and I want to encourage all of us. We are experiencing the same challenge, the same problem. We are fighting the same battle, though we are fighting on different fronts, but we are fighting the same battle and the same common enemy. So I want to encourage all of us that there is need to stay connected, there is need to build synergy, there is need to bring our strength and energies together and share strategies so that we know how we can continue, because the strategy of the corporations is to silence the people so that we don't have a voice, we can no longer speak out, but we have to continue to speak out and condemn and resist and engage. So we need to stay strong, we need to stay connected, we need to share experience, mobilize more people to speak up and join this struggle. And we believe that with a united front, that we will conquer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Emem. That was a great message. Now I want to give the word to Lexaru. Well, thank you once again. the words of Justino, Bielaye, and Emem, Martin. We feel as brothers in this struggle, which is nonetheless more about life, and leave you a message that this path that is really important is not only from our communities, but is a path that needs to be walked by the whole humanity. Let's hope that the feeling of reflection that is taking place during this pandemic, that the respect to nature and health and the elements that keep us in this place is very important. So that's why I support the words of our brothers, that we need to continue in this struggle and to think about the way we want to live. And here in Latin America can be expressed on the right to choose the way of living. And this is a right that has been taken away from us by Chevron and the multinationals who contaminate our land and kill our people. We say water for life and earth to live, and a big hug to all our brothers and sisters that are in the struggle. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for that message. Martin, one last message, and that's the way we will close this.
Sí, Natalie, muchas gracias por la invitación.
Natalie, for the invitation.
Un fuerte abrazo a nuestros hermanos y hermanas y hermanas de Ecuador.
Brothers and sisters of Ecuador.
Su lucha es una lucha digna y que en estos momentos nos deja un llamado de atención muy grande. Esperemos que podamos construir grandes resistencias y con eso abrazar esa situación tan grave donde día a día están muriendo hermanos de pueblos originarios, por la situación de no remediar. Me parece que la coyuntura actual nos deja una clara demanda a nivel social amplio, mundial, de poder empezar a discutir y cuestionar no solamente la impunidad de las corporaciones, sino este mundo fósil que se ha construido, que nos lleva a límites a límites muy finos en cuanto a la crisis civilizatoria actual. En ese sentido, nuestros hermanos de los pueblos originarios, nuestros hermanos
are people from the communities and indigenous people, such as people from the Amazon,
son quienes
the farmers,
deben ser más escuchados, no solo por todo lo que tienen que denunciar, sino también por todos sus saberes y conocimientos. Debemos pensar un mundo distinto al mundo fósil, y ahí en la soberanía alimentaria, la construcción de los lazos comunitarios de los pueblos originarios, puede haber una base importante para poder construir un mundo distinto. Un fuerte abrazo y refrendar nuestro compromiso de seguir denunciando
and to reinforce our compromise to keep denouncing the crimes that Chevron commits all over the world. Thank you so much to everyone to join us today, so we can raise our voices, and the people that have spoken today make their voices stronger. So this way, Chevron or all other multinationals that are violating our rights and taking us to death, those multinationals will listen, and we will invite you to keep moving until the 27th of May, where the shareholders meeting of Chevron will take place. We will continue sending messages through different accounts from Twitter or Facebook. So we invite you to follow us in those accounts, and we will leave in this chat the accounts so you can follow them. And thank you so much for joining us in this struggle and making our voices stronger. And we will need to resist, such as Emem is saying. And we're strong people, and please, we need to continue.